you don't tell or mention people's character for them to be. You experience it. You live it. And for anybody you hear say Napo is arrogant, by the time you trace back the person, you realize that he's only feeding on the public conversation and hasn't really worked with him. As a matter of fact, ever since Napo was mentioned, almost every single individual that has worked with him has come out to say, no, this is a good choice, based on my experience. And these are not politicians.
Have you heard any of Bawumia's critics say Bawumia is arrogant? Anything close that Bawumia is arrogant? Have you ever heard that?
But I've heard the critics call Bawumia other names.
So he may have done certain wrongs. He may have done things they don't like, but they never say he's arrogant. I'm saying that
I've heard the critics call Bawumia names that are not true.
The point is that it cannot be said that Napo does some wrong and people interpret that to be arrogance.
It is possible. We've had people call politicians a lot of things that they are not. This is politics. Remember, since we started our presidential primaries, people had always gone and knew and predicted who the running mate was going to be. I mean, actually, that is the case. Napo has unfortunately been warned, and that's something that the NDC have done very, very well. Because see, I read Professor Samuel Betbuedi-Kusi, the the Dean for International Affairs in the University of Cape Coast. He was the secretary to UTAG the time Napo was minister. And this is what he says about him. I have known and worked with Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. I got close to him during my time as the National Secretary of UTAG. He's such a fine, humble, and competent gentleman. If you get close to him and listen to his words carefully, he's such a fine, humble, and competent gentleman. If you get close to him, you will get to know that he is down to earth with a great sense of humor and has very good interpersonal skills. He is a great manager, a visionary, and a doer. He is compassionate and does not discriminate. During his reign as the Minister for Education, he had an excellent relationship with unions and his charisma. Always curbed intended strike actions. He speaks his mind and is forthright. He speaks his mind and is forthright. Mm-hmm. He solves problems and is a mentor. He is one of the best ministers Ghana has had as a Minister for Education. I have no doubt about his leadership qualities. And I wish him well as he begins his campaign for the 2024 presidential campaign. Now listen, I am MPP, I've been in MPP, I have never seen Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh exhibit any form of arrogance. Anybody I've heard say Napo is arrogant is somebody that has never worked with Napo. Never. I have listened to Nagrat's leadership. I've listened to Nat. I've listened to professors of the universities, professors who worked in the sector, and it is evidenced. And you heard the professor say that he always curbed strike actions. In fact, during the entire period of Napo being Minister for Education, he had the least labor unrest that Ghana has ever seen in the education sector. An arrogant minister can never achieve this. Never. The way labor unions operate and their modus operandi, if you're arrogant, you cannot survive them.
You hear what the intelligentsia, the intellectuals say about him when he was seeking to introduce that bill to clip the wings of the university.
So it is about it's about getting the conversation, like the professor said. It's about the engagement. He's forthright.
You are forthright, are you not?
I am.
You speak your mind.
I have a lot of people who actually assume that I am arrogant, but I'm a pure Ekuapim bred.
I haven't heard it said of you that you are arrogant.
I have people even in my WhatsApp.
I haven't heard it said of Sami that he's arrogant.
I have heard people say,
even though
I have heard people say Sami is arrogant. I've heard people say I am arrogant. I have heard it. Really? And I'm telling you about my own personal testimony people have given. You don't doubt that. And that is natural. But that's even beside the point. The fact is that Napo has suffered that false start of being won a kaba and slate of arrogance by the opposition party. Because all the professors and people who have worked with him, they say different things. The guy is competent, he's a doer, he's a go-getter, he's humble. When we worked with him, he's respectful, he engaged us properly, and we got results. He has this big task of removing this kaba and slate from himself. Unfortunate, but that is politics. The very moment you got ready to be named as a running mate, you should be ready for it. Remember when Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was accused in Parliament of having 3-4 wives, and a woman's name was even mentioned to be his wife? You have to deal with these things. One thing that I have said and consistently told anybody that has called me is that you don't tell people who somebody is. People experience him. Napo has started his campaigning. He's on the ground. He's engaging the people. And by the time July ends and we enter August, the people of Ghana will know what Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh is made of. And I can tell you without any doubt that the true nature of Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh that the people will know from experiencing him would be all the testimonies that the people he has worked with, the professors, including even the energy sector. Ask Senior Jose, your friend. Ask all the people in the sector. They will tell you about the character. They may disagree on issues. They will disagree on the policies and all of that. But the character, all of them have attested that the gentleman is a go-getter. He's a doer. He's assertive. He's forthright. He's a team player.
He's dealt with most vice chancellors. They don't say the same.
Now, this issue of Tuesday's Kwame Nkrumah's comment.
Your Kwame Nkrumah.
I have a view, to be very honest with you, that now people are watching Napo with a much more critical eye than they would watch any politician in the light of arrogance.
So there's a benefit.
There is a big disadvantage there. So now, even how he walks may be a problem. We may begin to see people show videos of what he's even wearing and describing it as arrogance. Now, Napo cannot make a mistake by even not seeing a chief coming from behind him and say that, oh, I didn't see you, sorry, let me rise up. It will be interpreted. So that is a cross he has to bear. But these crosses, they don't last. You can't lie on somebody's character. It's just a matter of time. The people would experience him themselves.
But this time has been for years now.
No, it's not. This is the time that he is going to be the number 2 gentleman of our land. He's going to campaign to be a running mate. He has never come to my hometown, Latte. Today, he will get to come there. He has never been to Kukua in Ayesuano. Today, he will get to go there. So it will not take Sami Jemfi or anybody to say he's arrogant. The people would have experienced him themselves. Oh, trust me, by September, what you hear is that, oh, say Napo Nukrano,
where has it been? Where has he been after mention?
But something, what I know, having worked with Napo in this party all over the years, supports the assertion and the testimony that all the people he worked with in the education sector are saying. And you underrate Napo and his political influence at your own peril. It's just a matter of time.
Where has he been after?
He's been in the Western and the Western North.
Okay.
Engaging the people.
He didn't go to Nalergo?
No.
Okay.
He's taking a different arm of the campaign.
I was in Tamale and I was aware there was
he's taking a different arm of the campaign and he's going to stay in the communities. We should expect to see more of him in our communities, engaging the people and having conversations with the people. That is what we are going to experience. And then we would see whether this by force, arrogance, an arrogant person doesn't easily apologize like Napo has done. Listen, you know that there are people who have actually made similar and worse comments on this Nkrumah matter. I have screenshots here. I don't want to go too much into it because it may seem like a justification. But I have a chief here, and you can look at it.
Very many people.
Who have actually said that Mahama is better than. In fact, they said that Mahama is greater than Nkrumah. But nobody held up to the chief. You know why? Because he's not Napo.
The manner it was said.
No, not necessarily.
That makes the biggest difference.
Nobody has held the chief because he's not Napo, and there's no crystal microscope on him. The national organizer of the NDC actually said it
Napo is not saying this for the first time. You know, right? People know.
But why?
That is not the first time.
If we want to go into the substance,
so it means it's in his
subconscious. If we want to go into the substance, why? I'm not a fan of Nkrumah. I'm a political science student. I studied Nkrumah in detail.
Okay, let's.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Don't let us digress.
Right. Okay.
Because I am not. You can't force me to be a fan of another political leader.
Okay.
There are people who disagree with Kufuor.
All right.
Doesn't mean that these people are bad people. Isn't Kufuor equally a hero?
Thank you.
Isn't Dankwa and Buzia and Co. or people?
Thank you.
So don't let us even go into that line.
So
Napo has apologized.
Right.
And I tell somebody, please let me land on this. Napo has apologized. And I think that it shows the way. It actually even tells you the character that is made of. It actually re-emphasizes the point that a lot of these
after pressure, a lot of pressure.
No, there wasn't a lot of
pressure.
No,
the apology came after a lot of pressure.
No, it's unfair. The
he went
happened,
defending.
No, he did it. You see, I can replay what he said. That's what he said. My statement last Tuesday, 9 July in Nkrumah on the performance of president has elicited varied reactions. The statement reflects my personal opinion about President Akufo-Addo's impact relative to other presidents we've had in the past. I wish to emphasize that I never meant to disrespect our former president, not Dr. Kwame Nkrumah or his own grandfather. He's never done any such thing. Okay. In fact, what he did in the Western region was to basically make the point that I was only trying to compare what I think my government, which I'm part of, has done against what other government has done. Nobody gave him room to even make the point in terms of what he means. You understand? So he hasn't justified it. What Napo has done is to come back and apologize for whatever discomfort his comment would have caused. And I think that for anything at all, let's give him credit, because we've seen leaders, including former President Mahama, make worse comments to Ghanaians, and he hasn't even had a cause to even think that he needs to come to apologize. So that alone is leadership and maturity that he has shown.
Thank you.